Good morning to everyone. Today let us see F.R. Leavis, The Great Tradition. The four great English novelists. In The Great Tradition, F.R. Leavis talks about the four great English novelists Jane Austen, George Eliot, Henry James, and Joseph Conrad. Leavis admits that every critic should make the essential discriminations in the given field as clearly as he can. The field of fiction is so large that it invites challenging discriminations. Tradition of the English novel. There is a habit nowadays of suggesting that there is a tradition of the English novel, and all that can be said of the tradition is that the English novel can be anything you like. To distinguish the major novelists in the spirit proposed, it is to form more useful idea of tradition. It is in terms of major novelists that tradition in any serious sense has its significance. It is imperative to distinguish the novelists same way as poet because they all change possibilities of art significant in terms of the human. They promote awareness of the possibilities of life. It is the way to understand what tradition is. The important line of history of English novelists are Richardson, Fanny Barney, and Jane Austen. F.R. Leavis has meticulously analyzed all the great five novelists. First, let us see Jane Austen. Jane Austen is a truly great writer. She herself is a major fact in the background of a great writer. She offers an exceptionally illuminating study of the nature of originality and beautifully illustrates the relation of the individual talent to tradition. But her relation to tradition is a creative one. She not only makes tradition for those coming after, but her achievement has for as a retroactive effect. Her work gives a meaning to the past. Sir Walter Scott and Jane Austen. F.R. Leavis finds Walter Scott as a folklorist. Walter Scott was a very intelligent man, but he did not have a creative writer's interest. He made no serious attempt to evolve his own form and break away from the bad tradition of the 18th century romance. So he failed to revise the existing tradition. Jane Austen, on the contrary, gave rise to a new tradition. She organized her plots very well. Her interest in composition is not divorced from reality. The aesthetic value she offers has some moral suggestion. The formal perfection of Emma can be appreciated in terms of her moral preoccupation that characterizes the novelist's peculiar interest in life. F.R. Leavis writes Jane Austen, in fact, is the inaugurator of the great tradition of the English novel. And by great tradition, I mean the tradition to which what is great in English fiction belongs. Why did F.R. Leavis exclude Dickens in the line of great novelists? Leavis finds Conrad very much like Dickens in the extraordinary energy of vision. The reason for not including Dickens in the line of great novelists is that, though he had the genius of a great entertainer, he had no profound responsibility as a creative artist. The challenge to an unusual and sustained seriousness is absent in Dickens. Hard Times is the only work in which his distinctive creative genius is controlled throughout to unifying and organizing significance. Thomas Hardy and George Meredith are supposed to be philosophically profound about life. Leavis finds their work chock full of false and falsity. They have all a major philosophic tragic stamp. D.H. Lawrence is most daring and radical innovator in form, method, and technique. F.R. Leavis considers two books, The Rainbow and Women in Love, as the astonishing works of genius and shows the development of disconcertingly original interests and approaches. His innovations and experiments are dictated by the most serious and urgent kind of interest in life. This is the spirit that relates Lawrence closely to George Eliot. Emily Bronte and George Eliot. In Wuthering Heights, Emily broke completely both with the Scott tradition and tradition of the 18th century, but the work is a kind of sport, so a minor tradition comes out of her. George Eliot is a great novelist and has achieved her triumphs of creative art. At her best, she has the impersonality of genius. It is distinctive of her to be peculiarly dedicated to moral preoccupations. Eliot ranks with Jane Austen and Conrad in her own language. F.R. Leavis intends to stress George Eliot's robust powers of intellectual labor and her stamina in the realm of abstract thought. George Eliot finds a kind satisfaction in imagining her hero, Duranda. The nobility, generosity, and moral idealism are presented as modes of self indulgence. Even her weaker places remain as that. We are dealing with an extremely vigorous and distinguished mind. Comparing Daniel Duranda with the portrait of a lady, Leavis shows that Henry James would not have written the portrait of a lady if he had not read Daniel Duranda. While talking about Henry James, Lewis refers to Henry James as a poet novelist because the determining interests in his art engage what is deepest in him and appeal to what is deepest in us. His constant concern with the spiritual facts expresses itself obviously in symbolism, but in the handling of character, episode, and dialogue, he seems to offer a novel of manners. About Joseph Conrad, F.R. Lewis says that he has a great depth of range of his interest in humanity, along with a great intensity of his moral preoccupation. We notice a recurrent and important theme of isolation in his work. His organization is devoted to exhibiting in the concrete a representative set of radical attitudes in relation to a total sense of human life. He is a man of great intelligence, embodying sustained thought about fundamentals. His genius is a happy and unique union of a seaman and writer. Lewis says that Heart of Darkness is one of Joseph Conrad's best achievements. Conrad, the great novelist, Scott, Thackeray, George Meredith, and Thomas Hardy are commonly accounted great English novelists. If the criterion is the achievement in work addressed to the adult mind and capable as such of engaging again and again its full critical attention, then Joseph Conrad is certainly a greater novelist than the four enumerated, says F.R. Lewis. On analyzing the hard times, in the analytical note on hard times, F.R. Lewis observes that it is a moral fable having nothing of the fairy tale. The satisfaction given depends on a moral significance that has no relations with the charm. It has a large and complex theme involving Arthur's profoundest response to contemporary civilization. The satiric irony is thrown together with melodrama, pathos, and humor exhibiting Dickensian vitality. The inhumanities of Victorian civilization are seen as fostered and sanctioned by a hard philosophy. Dickens' understanding of Victorian civilization is adequate for his purpose. His moral perception works in alliance with a clear insight into the English social structure. Thank you.